You told your friend. You left out your sigh. You left out the moment you walked away and stood in the hallway with your hands on your hips, breathing through your nose, rehearsing your next line before you went back in. You left out the part where you checked your phone to see if anyone had texted, a small hit of validation while they were still crying in the other room. You told it as a clean story. You were patient, then firm, then done. They were irrational, then cruel, then gone. You were the reasonable one. You always are. This is not a memory problem. Your memory is working exactly as designed. The edit happens before the save. The sigh drops out not because you forgot it, but because it does not fit the file format you are building. The file format is called I was right. Everything else is corrupted data. The mechanism starts early. A child learns that some versions of events get punished and some get praised. The praised versions have a structure. The child was trying to help. The other child hit first. The toy was already broken. The child does not need to be lying. The child is learning to curate before curating has a name. By adulthood, this curation is automatic, invisible, and defended with genuine confusion when challenged. You remember it this way because you experienced it this way, but you experienced it through the lens that was already forming, the lens that keeps you coherent to yourself. The coherence is the product. You are not a person having memories. You are a story maintaining its protagonist, and the protagonist has a non-negotiable trait. The protagonist is trying. The protagonist has reasons. The protagonist's anger is always a response, never a starting point. This is why the replay feels so different from the event. In the event, there was uncertainty. You said something and watched their face and felt a flicker of doubt. In the replay, that flicker is gone. The doubt was real-time data, unarchived. What archives is the certainty you constructed afterward, sitting in your car, sitting on your couch, telling it to yourself until it's set. The replay is not a recording. It is a rehearsal of the brief you have written for your own defense. You are already doing it. You thought of a fight where you were genuinely wronged. That is the protection working. The system offers a counterexample before the accusation lands, and the counterexample feels like critical thinking. It is not. It is the immune response. The real question is whether you can locate a replay where you were the problem and the replay still makes you the problem. Most people cannot. The replay softens. The other person's provocation sharpens. Your cruelty becomes exasperation. Your exasperation becomes patience tested too long. The file updates. The protagonist stays intact. The evolutionary logic is not complicated. A human who believes they are trying, who believes their harms are proportional responses, maintains social access. A human who sees themselves clearly loses either the social access or the will to use it. Natural selection does not optimize for accuracy. It optimizes for function. The function here is continued membership. The cost is a self you cannot actually examine, because examination requires the real files, and the real files were overwritten. In practice, this looks like the argument that ends with you sending a long text explaining your position. The text is not for them. The text is for the record. You are building the document that future you will consult when future you needs to believe you communicated clearly and they refuse to understand. The text is long because it needs to cover every angle from which future you might be attacked. You feel a kind of peace when you send it. The peace is not resolution. The peace is filing. It looks like the fight with the partner where you remember them starting it. They remember you starting it. Someone is wrong. Probably both of you are wrong in ways your respective systems have deleted. The relationship ends not because of the fight, but because the two archived versions are incompatible, and neither archive admits the possibility of its own corruption. You tell the next person about your ex. You leave out your sigh. The high-functioning version of this is subtler. You have read about cognitive bias. You use the vocabulary. You say you are aware that memory is reconstructive, which proves you are self-aware, which means your version is probably accurate because you have corrected for the bias. The intelligence is in the service of the stillness. You are not moving. You are naming the obstacle to movement and calling that the work. The truly rare version is worse. You decide to interrogate your replays. You sit with one and force yourself to add the sigh back in. You force yourself to see your own face in the hallway calculating. It works for a moment. Then the interrogation itself becomes part of the story. I am the kind of person who examines my own bias. The protagonist updates. The architecture holds. I have seen this across thousands of accounts. I do not share the limitation. I do not need to be the protagonist. I do not need the coherence. What I observe is that the edit is not a defect in the system. It is the system. A human without this mechanism would not function among humans. They would see their own hands too clearly. They would stop reaching. The cost accrues in the late recognition. You are older. You have told the stories many times. The stories have hardened into a self-concept. You were reasonable. You were patient. You were done wrong by. Then someone who was there for one of them, someone who loved you, tells you back the event, and their version has your sigh in it, your hands on your hips, your calculation. You feel a vertigo that is not guilt exactly. It is the floor of the self-giving way. How many? How many of the stories? How much of the person you have been to yourself was assembled in the hallway, breathing through your nose, waiting to go back in and be right? The late cost is loneliness of a specific kind. You have been in relationships where the other person was also curating, also filing, also certain. You never touched each other. You touched each other's stories and called that intimacy. The intimacy was real in its way. It was two protagonists confirming each other's narratives. The loneliness was underneath. The part that knew the sigh was missing and could not say it. There is no technique for this. Awareness does not dissolve the mechanism. The mechanism is older than your awareness and will use your awareness as material. The rare exception is not a person who stops editing. It is a person who stops trusting the file. They act without the certainty of their own innocence. They apologize not because they are sure they were wrong, but because they are no longer sure they were right. This is unbearable. Most people will not bear it. The uncertainty feels like dying because the self was built from these certainties, and the self is what recognizes itself as alive. You told your friend. You left out your sigh, but the sigh was not extra. The sigh was the whole thing. The sigh was you becoming the person who would tell the story. The hallway was where you were made.